Trump issued an order to the Department of War to mobilize Oregon National Guard troops to be deployed here in Portland. Since then, local area mayors are asking him not to.
Fox 12 Spencer Schott heard from the coalition of mayors this afternoon. He shares their concerns.
Now, their main argument is that this is an unprecedented militarization of the U.S. Armed Forces against the American people. So on Monday, 17 area mayors came together and signed a letter that they are sending to the Trump administration, urging him not to send the National Guard to Portland. The mayors, led by Portland Mayor Keith Wilson, cited multiple lawsuits other cities and states have filed that have blocked the Trump administration from sending National Guard to places like Los Angeles and Chicago. Plus, many of these mayors are veterans who have served in the U.S. military in different branches. They all say that the military members are not trained in neighborhood policing, and to use them in the way Trump is suggesting is inappropriate.
The justification for their presence in our cities is either a misunderstanding or a lie.
I also witnessed just how absurd it was for people untrained in policing to be performing these duties.
Before we heard from the coalition of mayors, I went down to the South Waterfront to talk to neighbors who live near the ICE building. And there are some mixed reactions about the possibility of the National Guard being deployed in their neighborhood. Many people are against it, including one woman who is a green card holder and a permanent resident here in the U.S. She didn't want to be identified on camera for her own safety, but she says deploying the National Guard over some protests is an overreaction.
Unless you really walk by there, like from my building or around this area, like you don't even feel any existence of the people there. And then like last night, I just could hear the helicopter. The sound of helicopter was more like a bothering than anything else.
But other neighbors disagree. They say they are glad to see the federal government responding to the protests that they've seen outside of the ICE building. One woman who I talked to didn't want to go on camera out of fear of retaliation, but she says she's lived in Portland since the 90s and is not happy with the direction the city has gone, especially after the riots of 2020.
Whatever it takes to not have that happen again, I support whatever he's doing because of what's happened to our beautiful state and our beautiful city.
Now, Mayor Wilson did say he cannot confirm what day we should expect troops on the ground here in Portland, but he, along with the other mayors who signed this letter to the Trump administration, are urging anyone who is deciding to protest to do so cautiously and to be nonviolent. Reporting live in downtown Portland, Spencer Schott, Fox 12 Oregon.